500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my shot.
All right, so Katie Porter's chances of becoming the next governor of California are looking slimmer and slimmer. Now, obviously, politicians have recovered from worse scandals, but if the name Katie Porter doesn't ring any bells, let me remind you who she is. So, like I said, she's running for governor of California, and she had this disastrous interview come out with CBS Sacramento where she became very confrontational with the reporter for asking, pretty mild follow-up questions, and then threatened to storm out of the interview and kind of stood up and then sat back down and basically just behaved like a petulant child. And people have been going back and looking at her record, and this video was released of Katie Porter absolutely berating one of her staffers for getting in her shot. So I want to watch this first because Katie Porter has responded to these videos in a way that's not at all reassuring. But let's watch this first.
For our economy. So I'm on the oversight committee, you might know, and that is where we did a study recently this fall in September, and what it showed is if we don't electrify our transportation sector, that we're going to lose more than 500,000 Californians dying prematurely to air pollution and other problems, and the state could lose. Get out of my shot.
I wanted to tell you that that's actually incorrect. It's not that it's electric vehicles. It's that if we don't meet the commitments under the Paris Climate Accord.
Okay, it does. Okay, you also were in my shot before that. Stay out of my shot. Okay, I'm going to start again with electric vehicles saving us money. Perfect. Okay.
What an unlikable harpy. I mean, unlikable is actually way too kind. That's like a very gentle characterization of Katie Porter. Just a total shrew, school marm, the exact sort of woman that wants to be empowered that you should not empower, okay? So this is how she treats her staffers. Pretty abusively. I think that's a fair characterization of this clip. I love that the staffer just is unfazed and just delivers the information anyway. It sort of suggests that she's used to this kind of treatment. But in a recent interview, Katie Porter was questioned on this, and the interviewer said, well, are we going to see any more clips like this come out of you mistreating your staffers? And Katie Porter basically said, who knows? Maybe. It's possible. So let's watch that clip now.
Should California voters feel confident that there aren't any more Katie Porter videos out there?
Well, what I know is that I could have done better in those moments. I'm going to be focused on earning their votes and earning their trust. That's true in every election. I've only ever had tough elections. So I'm absolutely aware that I'm going to have to continue to show them. I'm going to have to answer every question. I'm glad I got to continue that interview and finish that interview and answer all her questions. And that's what I'm going to continue to do, to show Californians not only that I understand their problems, but that I have the will and the strength of character to actually get something done about them.
But not just the CBS interview, the interview with the staffer. Can voters be confident that there won't be another one of those videos that's going to come to light?
What I do know is that I could have done better in that situation.
But that's not a no. So is there potentially another video that we're going to see?
Nikki, I'm going to be honest with you. I know that video was several years ago, as you know, and I apologize to the staffer. That's super important to me, and will continue to try to hold myself to do better. That's what I can promise.
But not that there's not going to be any more videos, because that's what people are wondering. Are we going to see something else like that?
I can tell you what I've told you, which is that.
All right, watch it, interviewer. You're asking too many follow-up questions. Katie Porter might fly off the handle. Of course, she can't really do that anymore in public, so I'm sure she has this, simmering, barely contained rage that she's actually being pressed on something that she did. Her conduct in all of her interviews is sort of, well, I'm owed this position. I'm owed, the position of governor of California, and how dare you question me? And how dare you ask me to explain myself or my qualifications or my plans, when it's just so obvious that I should be in power. She reminds me of a few characters from movies. Comment below if you if you have any other suggestions, but my thoughts are the lady from Misery, Miss Trunchbull. There might be another one I can't think of, but just this archetype of like the really shrill, angry older woman who just wants to dominate and control everyone else. So in that sense, she is a really good representation of the Democratic Party, but in every other sense, she's intolerable. So let's continue.
I'm taking responsibility for this situation, and I'm also not going to back down for fighting back for California, from being tough. I don't think this is a moment where the same old is going to cut it. But that doesn't change the fact that what I did to that staffer was wrong. I've acknowledged it to her in that moment, and I'm acknowledging it now.
And I'm acknowledging it now, and I'm nodding, right? So you're going to agree with me, right? Because I'm nodding. I don't know who Katie Porter thinks she is. I mean, she's not running for the job of Irish street cop. Like, she doesn't have to be abrasively tough in this manner, I don't think. There are other allegations regarding Katie Porter. She had a pretty contentious divorce, and her husband alleged that she was physically abusive. He alleged that she poured mashed potatoes on his head and screamed and cursed at him for not knowing how to make Jell-O. And he also alleged, misconduct with their children. But as I'm watching these videos, I am thinking that maybe Katie Porter should pivot and pursue a career as a cop or maybe as a prison warden. I actually think she would do a great job. I think the inmates would be, quite terrified. She could whip them into shape. Just imagine living in a cell for the rest of your life with that face occasionally passing by through the bars, peering at you. It would be quite the punishment, and maybe the reform that our prison system desperately needs, for people who commit really heinous, disturbing, disgusting crimes. Perhaps if they're not given the death penalty, they should have to bear with Katie Porter for the rest of their lives. And I think this would be a win-win, we're doling out justice, and Katie Porter would be perfectly suited to this career. I Miss Porter, if you're watching, I am sincerely asking that you consider this for the good of all Californians and Americans. And that's all I have to say about Katie Porter. So let me know what you think of my plan and her comments in the comments section below. Give this video a like, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.